New York City time, and 12, wrong one, 9 p.m. UK time. And so you can see me and usually Roscoe the Pug, except not next week because he's not going to DC with me. And you can invite a friend because it's absolutely free, and you do get a certificate from American TESOL. It does have the American TESOL in it. I already know quite a few people, actually. You're going to say bye now, buddy. Who actually have downloaded several of these, and it has worked in various countries as professional development credits. So feel free to come along, bring a friend, suggest topics. We're going to be doing a series of topics on how to pump up your English language teacher profile, because I think what happens with a lot of English language teachers is that you start off somewhere teaching English and then you want to go somewhere else. So I get emails all the time on my Facebook that says, Shelly, what's the best way to teach in America or teach in the UK or teach in Europe? And I have worked in various countries as an English language teacher and trainer. Actually, I've been in 25 countries, so I know quite a bit myself. And being from a country, I'm originally from the US, and it's very difficult here to just work anywhere because of the visa situation. So we'll talk about those things as well. But we'll also talk, so we won't only talk about the advantages of being an English language teacher. You can feel free to share your knowledge as well, any kind of posts you have about it or any resources or things from your particular country, and that's the best way we're going to learn. When I started being an English language teacher, I actually wasn't an English language teacher first. I was a school teacher in 1993. I had a class of 100 kids, and they were kind of crazy. I was actually kids who their parents were in jail, and they had some kind of, they came from the inner city, so it was a good group to actually work with because the kids were various ages, and so we had a lot of different types of activities we did with them. And these are some of the things that I do with my English language learners today. I actually became an English language teacher specifically in 2004, and since then I've been to various countries, like I said, 25, but where I've trained teachers and then taught students. But my main experience has been in Germany. I moved to Germany shortly after I taught in Texas for 4 years, and in Germany for 4, and then I taught in Greece, Athens, Greece for a little while as well. So I've taught anywhere from 2 years old, and that I thought that would be my most challenging class, but that actually was a fantastic class. It almost blew my mind when my director said you have to teach 2 years old, 2-year-olds how to speak English, and I thought, is this possible? I don't think so, but actually it is, all the way to 80 years old, and various levels as well. So there are great possibilities for being an English language teacher, and I don't know if Jackson recognized that picture, but that was actually taken in Rio, in a boat trip that I had in Rio, so maybe you recognize that. The possibilities are endless. There are, of course, wonderful reasons to be an English language teacher. You can travel, and if you're in the European Union, around that region, then it's much easier to be able to travel to other countries, and because of the visa situation. So even if you're in a country that doesn't pay as high, and I understand that there are a lot of countries where they don't pay English language teachers a lot, and there we will talk about issues about being a non-native English speaking teacher, which you may have seen. I'll tell you what the acronym for that is, which is non-native English speaking teacher. I'm not completely a native English speaking teacher. I did grow up in America, but I grew up in a town, an area where we spoke Che, which is Chicano English, which is the dialect of English. So I do know what it is to learn how to speak correct English. I started going to a school after the first grade. I guess I was probably about 7 or 8. I went to school where they told me I didn't speak proper English, and I had to go to several classes, to speech therapy classes and different kinds of classes, pronunciation classes, So that way I would speak proper English. So there are various situations that you get into that maybe you didn't learn, that wasn't your first language was English. Maybe you learned a different dialect, or maybe you learned a different language and then you learned English as well. So you can go to other places, and there are those biases. But we'll talk about how to get ahead, how to make yourself more marketable, so that way you can still get a job and you can still be able to get them some other way, because usually there's many steps you have to go through. But the great thing about traveling as an English language teacher is, first of all, they don't pay enough for your country. In your country, then it is good to look for maybe work in another country where you're going to get paid more. And I know this is the situation. I got my CELTA in Athens, and at the time I was getting it, it was 2 years ago. And so, hi, Ayat. And so it was 2 years ago, and the market was low. There weren't really any jobs, and the teachers weren't getting paid anything. So we had to go to other places to get jobs. But the great thing is, when you do move, it's very difficult. I realize this because I've done this. But the life experiences, you learn how to kind of live anywhere in the world. You can learn about the different people. You can help people. Every time I've gone to teach English, one of the great things about it is the people are trying to learn, your students are trying to learn English for a very important reason: to get a job themselves, to get ahead, it makes them, you help them with their life, it enriches their life, and they really need to know English. I was working with refugees in Athens, and for them, this was a way to, they would sell goods on the beaches and just on the streets, and for them, they had a lot of tourists, so it was a great way for them to learn how to do business that way, and that's why they were learning English. You immerse yourself in the culture, and if you don't limit yourself to one country, I understand some of us have to, but if you don't limit to it, then you can work anywhere in the world and find a job as an English language teacher. They need English language teachers in countries all over the world, the US, even in Canada, I mean, just everywhere, the UK. So it's not only places where they don't speak English, but they also, as well, Maria says she has a twin sister here. Sorry. First of all, you're going to be more marketable if you have a certificate. Okay. So people ask me all the time, and yes, today we're from American TESOL. And in America, TESOL is a very important certificate, and there are other countries where TESOL is very, very important. But then there are other countries where CELTA is very important. And when I was in Germany, that's what I had to get. I had to get a CELTA or a Delta, and that's why I chose to get that particular certification. I also have my master's in English language teaching. So in the US, that's usually a requirement as well. You have to have usually a bachelor's or a master's in teaching English. And so if you have that, you become more marketable, but also it's necessary for a job. So if I didn't have these things, I wouldn't even be able to get a job in America. So America, it does require a degree as well as a certificate. Is very good as well. The good thing about American TESOL is that the classes you take with American TESOL actually go towards your graduate course credit for college. So that is one thing to look at. In your different countries, maybe you could list what is the certificate requirement. Like if you could list Argentina and what it is, or Brazil, so that way the people here will know what is the requirement for there, because this is a popular question that I get. What is the best certificate to have? Do I need a master's? Do I need a CELTA, Delta, bachelor's? And so they ask us all the time. So before you decide to transfer jobs, and before, it takes a bit of work. I would say do about 6 months of planning at least. So if you don't like your current situation right now, stick it out for a little bit longer and begin now to start making the plans for somewhere else you want to teach. There are many, many jobs in Asia that will hire teachers, and they will hire what is called an assistant teacher. So you may not like the situation, but it pays. It pays well. A lot of times they'll figure out your living circumstances, and these are things you want to know about. So and then I know, and also in other countries like Turkey and Istanbul, there are jobs there as well that I was going to try and actually get a job there myself. So they do have these kind of jobs available. We just have to be able to look for them, and I'll talk about that more. But you want to get the scoop on the country and the institution. So decide a couple of places, make a top 10 where you want to go. Look at the visa requirements. If you're in the EU, it's going to be easier to get a job in the EU. If not, then you need to see what the visa requirements are. Certificates, the certification that's needed. Are you going to need a CELTA? Like Bob is saying that the CELTA is not always essential. Okay, so yeah, and that's the situation. You want to make sure there are now IATEFL's making a big, not only IATEFL, but other organizations are also, TESOL as well, they're trying to fight against this non-native English speaker, them not getting, non-native speakers not getting jobs. They're trying to make it where they do get jobs. So that's something to think about. One thing that you can do when you send in a cover letter, because you'll have to send a cover letter or something, give a link to a video and present to yourself a 1-minute video or something. Say, please listen to my video. Send the video so that way they can listen to you and they know, well, this teacher knows English. And that sometimes will help you get an interview, get in the door. What happens is that a lot of times they'll see that you're not a native English speaking teacher, and then what they'll do is they won't even look at the rest of the application. But if you put a video link, then they're more able to look at that and say, wow, this teacher, will be fine with our students. The students will be able to accept this teacher. So that's one thing you should do. You should put yourself on video and you should speak and you should let them know, hi, I'm a friendly teacher, put on a big smile. My English is great and I'm ready to move to your country and teach. So and then the advantages that you have, you can name a lot of advantages. I think non-native English speaking teachers are some of the best English language teachers. And the reason why is because you have to go through the process of learning English yourself, so you can identify with your students. You know what it's like to learn English, and you know what struggles they'll have with certain kinds of intonations or what certain types of pronunciation issues they'll have specific to a location. So that makes you much more marketable than actually a native English speaking teacher. And these are some of the things you should point out in that video. Check out the working conditions. So there's this really great article on TEFL.net, and that's one of the resources that I've bookmarked. And this resource is fantastic because it says to look at the various different types of conditions. For example, are you going to have 50 students to one class? A lot of times in some Japanese speaking schools, they have 50 to 75 kids that you will teach. In one of the classes I was going to teach young learners in Istanbul, the classes I was going to have about, I think, 7 a day, and there were going to be 40 students, and I'd get them every 30 minutes or something. And so you have to see if these are conditions you're going to be okay with, depending. See if there's going to be what the pay is for it as well. Is the pay, not only the pay, but is it going to also be pay to live in that country? Is it the kind of pay that you'd be able to live by yourself as well? The benefits, you'll need health benefits, you'll need whatever type of benefits you can get. One of the things that they had to look for that I really liked in Istanbul when I was getting a job there is that they were going to get me settled in an apartment or a flat They were going to get my bills all situated for me and set up, and they were even going to have a place to have Roscoe, my pug, and they were going to also include a dog walker with that, or like a pet care center, and I really appreciated that. I thought that's very great. That's a school I want to work at. Look at the living arrangements. Look what side of town it is. Are you able to bear these kind of living arrangements? Do they provide the living arrangements? And then you want to look at the job market there. Is there room for advancement? Is there other jobs in case that job doesn't work out? So these are all things you want to look at. And then the class size, the age, and the level. Sometimes you'll work at a language institute and you'll get mixed abilities. And I've taught classes like that, and it's difficult to have 20, 30 kids or teenagers or adults in one class, and they have different levels of English, but you get that sometimes. In the U.S., you get that actually quite a bit sometimes, well, at least in the places I have worked. Okay, and now how do you find a job? Well, okay, I told you make a list of 10 countries. Well, how do you know what kind of country, where are you going to find a job there? Well, find out how your certification institution will help you find a job. So once you figure out this is the certification I need a TESOL certificate. If you do get with American TESOL, they do have a job market available, and they have job market resources and all of these as well. When I was taking my CELTA in Athens, the same thing. I mean, it depends where you're going. So my suggestion is, if you are going to get something like a CELTA or a TESOL and it's going to be in person, then what you want to do is you probably want to try and get it in the country where you're going to eventually work. It's about 6 weeks. These certification courses, 6 weeks, about a month and a half to 2 months. And that way you'll find about jobs there, and you can apply for jobs while you're there. Recruitment centers. Now, you can do various recruitment centers. You have to be aware of recruitment centers. Some of the recruitment centers are JET, the JET program. That's one of the most popular ones I know of. Yes, and Bob makes a good point with a reputable international company. So there are different recruitment centers out there, and there are probably some in your country. You need to ask them certain questions. First of all, I would say Google them. Google them. Ask other people. They will post online, and they will post bad reviews or good reviews. I have done that with a lot of places that I've applied for jobs, and I've read whether it's a reputable place or whether it's not reputable at all. So you want to do that. Check them out before you sign up with them. Will they take a portion of your salary? Some of these recruitment agencies, yes, they will get you a job in Japan, and they'll say it's great money, or maybe they'll get you a job in China or in Europe, somewhere in the UK or London or something, somewhere really nice. And then what happens is they take a portion of your salary. You wouldn't make what a regular teacher there would make. So that's something you do want to look at, is are they going to take a portion of your salary? Okay, thanks, Bob. Bob recommends a book called Teaching Abroad by Steve Griffith. What is its reputation? So Google it. What will they do for you? Are they going to find you housing? Are they going to find you, if you have a dog, are they going to take care of that for you? Are they going to take care of the visa situation? As much as they'll take care of, you need to have them take care of. Moving to another country, you're going to have to set up a bank account in that country. You're going to have to set up internet service. You're going to have to set up just normal bills, electricity, all of this. This is stuff that I learned when I went to Germany. It took me 2 months nearly to get the internet. And for me, that was like, wow, that's crazy. But I had to do all of this myself because I didn't get any of this within the contract. So I kind of learned the hard way. So these are things that you want to make your life easier. So American TESOL as well shows you different jobs around the world, the Philippines, everywhere. So if you want, this is let me go ahead and give you the link to all of these resources here. And this is actually a paltry of bookmarks. But you can go to americantesol.com/blogger, and this is going to give you, if you look at the job in a regular, the blog on a regular basis, you'll see different jobs all the time. So that's something to take a look at. The most famous job site out there for English language teachers is actually Dave's ESLcafe.com, but it also has lots of resources and reviews of different places like Recruitment Centers, and Dave is very honest. The jobs posted there, they are real jobs, and they're usually from really good company, and not really good, but companies that are reputable. They're not scams. So ESLcafe.com is a really good resource to find a different job. You never know. You could also look for other jobs within your country. And that is one thing that I have learned, is that some of the teachers, maybe they have to stay where they're at. So Maria's here from Argentina. I had a friend from Argentina, and she didn't really like the job situation. She wanted to move from her job. And one of the things she did do, hi Bruno, is she went ahead and she got her CELTA. And then she was able to get more job opportunities that. So a lot of times you can just go to the different types of, you can go and you can have your different certificate, and then you can go to one of these sites and look for a job in your country. You can see other jobs in your area that'll pay more, that have better benefits, and maybe people talk about and say, I really like to work here. Yes, good point, Ola. Ola says CELTA is very good in getting international jobs. TEFL.net is another really great resource, and Bob says TEFL.com is also. And these are reputable places. These are the ones that I've seen. They have real places, and the people who create these websites I know, or I've seen online, and I've worked with them and followed them for 3 or 4 years. So I know, and other people in the community say they're reputable, they're great people, and they post honest things, and they're English language teachers themselves. So these are there's tons of places to get a job or to find the job list, but these are the ones that check them to make sure they're good job listings. TEFLlist.com, that's created by David Dubois, and David Dubois has one of the largest Nings gatherings online of English language teachers, and he's in Canada. He's made it a really important point to make sure to post jobs that are great. Before you do anything, okay, so you got your job, you're excited, they're gonna pay for someone to walk your dog and take care of your dog while you're teaching. You get planning time, and this is a great job, the job you've always wanted. So now you're gonna get a contract. Read your contract carefully. This is one thing that I learned. Most of the jobs, if they're gonna cover your visa, then they are going to require you to be there for so many years. And this is what happened to me with one of the jobs I was going to look for is this. And if I couldn't last so long at that job, then I was going to have to pay back the moving costs. And so that's one thing you want to see. Are they going to cover your moving costs? And if they cover your moving costs, then are you going to have to pay this back when you leave? Are you going to have to pay taxes on your going there? And I mean, so you read your contract carefully. See if you're going to have to plan all the lessons yourself. See if you're going to get part of your salary. Sometimes in some countries, part of your salary, a big chunk, about 25%, will go to the government. So these are all things that you want to know. You want to know what kind of salary you're going to walk with, what kind of cash, because if you don't know that, then you're not going to be able to know if you can afford the bills or not, or you're going to be able to afford to visit the place and get to know it. Consider the following in the contract. How long is the contract for? Is it for 6 months? Is it for a year? Usually it's about a year, 2 years at least, depending what they'll cover. The better the job, the better the more they cover for you, the more they take care of you. It's probably going to be a longer contract. You may have to stay there for 2 years. The penalties. okay. It doesn't work out, you get miserable, you want to go back to your country, then you have to see what you're going to have to pay back, or what happens if you break your contract. The class sizes, see that that's included in the contract, because you don't want to end up teaching 100 kids in a gym, and that is possible. The preparation time, is that included? Do they expect you? I went to school once. I got there the first day and I had to teach 6 courses, and they said, I said, well, where's the curriculum you wanted to give me? And this was actually in the US, and they said, wing it. They said, you can just wing it. So I ended up having to write 6 courses in a matter of a week. I slept about 0 hours that week. Wing it, Ola, means that take it from the top of your head and just go with it. So basically they didn't have anything, and so that's what I ended up doing for this job. So these are things you want to know. Are you going to have preparation time? Are they going to give you a curriculum? Are they going to give you books? Are you going to have to bring everything yourself? What are the moving fees? What are the termination terms? How do you leave the job? Can you leave the job? Do you write a letter? Do you have to give them 6 months advance notice? Do you have to give them a year notice? All of these things are questions you're going to want to ask. Can you freelance? Now that's an important question. In Brazil, I found out that you can actually have private students aside from your job. But in other places, you can't. In other places, you work at your job, you cannot have private students. You need to know if this is possible, because in places like, I know in Argentina and Brazil, and Maria says in Argentina too, you can have students that you teach privately. If you have in Israel, the same thing, when I was in Israel, your private students are going to be where you make the most money. You make a lot of money with private students. See, in Germany, it was a freelance, so you could, in Germany, have private students as well. You just couldn't make sure that they weren't students that were already registered in the school, and that it didn't look like you stole the students. But if you got them just somewhere outside, that was fine. So you need to check if that's something you can do, because a lot of times, even if you don't get a job that pays you enough, you can have private students, and that's very, very good way to make more money. So Jackson says in Brazil, in his city, the schools allow you not only to have private students, but you can also work in another language school. Oh, and Zahid says in Saudi Arabia, the teachers are not allowed to have private students, or I guess not allowed to work in another school. So that depends as well. Do a web search, Google, and you'll find a lot of forums that will talk about. Google the school, see if you can talk to the students, see if you can talk to the teachers, see if they have an online community, and do a web search, because you want to get in contact with somebody, even if it's privately. You can send someone a private email and say, look, I saw you in the TESOL.net list forum, and you said this about the institution. I noticed you worked there. I was just wondering if you would tell me if it's a good job. Do you like the job? What is, good about the job? The other thing I would recommend is get connected. There are lots and lots. There was a friend recently, and he was applying for a job, and he didn't get the job he wanted. He didn't get 3 of the jobs he wanted. But he asked people online that he was connected with on Twitter, the English language teachers, and he found other job opportunities in a week, very fast like that. And he was able to get a job, a good job, that paid him well. In fact, he had to turn down other 2 jobs that were suggested to him. So these are things that when you're connected that you can do. You can connect with other language teachers online, and then you have a whole community you can ask. You can say, what is the job situation? I want to move to your country, and I want to teach English in your country because the situation's not so good in mine, or maybe you just need a change of pace. Maybe you like to travel. Maybe you want to live in Brazil for 6 months and teach there. So you want to figure out what are the ways that you can do that. Yes, or some work during summer schools. Exactly, Zahid. So these are all things that you want to ask. So join a professional organization. That will help too. Whatever the local organization is in your area, that's a good way to connect as well. There are two big organizations. There's TESOL, and then there's also IATEFL. Those are the largest. So you'll probably find a chapter somewhere inside your country, either a TESOL chapter or an IATEFL chapter. I know in different countries it's various. It's really it's different. But these organizations, a lot of times, if you're not making enough money or anything like that, they do have free events and stuff like that. Let me type that up. IATEFL and TESOL. Here we go. And so those are different types of organizations. They have reduced rates as well. You can find a lot on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Nings. The American TESOL site has a great it has a Facebook page as well. In fact, they were just saying today about the Facebook page. So, but there's a lot of teachers that connect on Facebook, so it's a great place. And if you have a Facebook account, then it's a great way to meet other English language teachers, get lesson plans. But it's also a great way to ask them about jobs. Say, a lot of teachers will post and say, I want to know if there's, people are always sending me job things that I post about whether or not there's anybody that I know of who would be great for a job here or there. So these are definitely places. Here's the American TESOL Facebook page. LinkedIn's a good group, and sometimes you have your version of LinkedIn in your country. So I would say your version of LinkedIn in your country. And then there's educational communities called Nings. One of the sites that I recommend on Facebook as well is the Teach English British Council site. There's over 70,000 members, and I love Teach English. They always have tons of resources, job postings, free lesson plans. So there's definitely a lot of resources that you can find there. I'm trying to find the link for you right now. Here we go. There's actually 76,000 members. Can you believe that? 76,000 members. Yes, exactly. In fact, I heard they were having a free conference. ELT chat, if you're on Twitter, you can find lots of educators on ELT chat. Even if you just use the hashtag, you'll find a lot of things on ELT, a lot of teachers on ELT chat who follow the hashtag like me, and they will help you if you know that. So here we go. Let me put that one. Oh, thanks for the help, Bruno. That's okay. Oh, that's there. And you'll see what it's about. It's a conversation we have every Wednesday. But you can actually use the hashtag every Wednesday at 12 London time and at 9 p.m. London time. There's a chat. It's a worldwide chat. Teachers from all over the world gather. But you can use the hashtag anytime, and you will be able to find people that you can ask questions about jobs too. ESLClassroom.com is the largest Ning, which is also English language community out there. That's like it's the largest Ning for English language teachers. I think there's about 50,000 or something. It's phenomenal how many teachers David Dubois has there. He's the one in charge of that TEFL list that I was talking about. He has great resources. You can see here, these are the kind of things he has. He has the forums, he has members, testimonials, newsletters, a bookstore, couch surfing. Couch surfing, like basically if you're going to another country, whose couch you can stay with, that's an English language teacher. Resources, different types of lesson plans, ELT bloggers that you should follow. He has, and there's a lot of authors and stuff that are part of David Dubois' community. It's free. Now at the beginning, he does ask for $19.95, but it's free. There's a free access. And then if you find that you like the resources, then he does, ask for a donation if you would like to. They have discussions. They have where you can post blog posts. They have where you can post a job or find a job. They have professional development, teacher training, teaching videos. They even have karaoke. And they got everything. They have tons and tons of resources. It's a really, really, really good community. And that's it. So if you have any other information, feel free to share. I will give you the link to all the resources. You can actually find them right now. You can even find I will share with you the slides because they're already posted. So if you would like the slides, all of them are here in case you missed any of the resources. And if you would like the links that I shared today, you can find that by simply going to this bit.ly link that I am going to go ahead and copy here. We're going to be talking about how to have a great, thank you, how to have a great portfolio, an online portfolio. Now, and also how to do interviews in an upcoming webinar. When we do this, we will talk about not only for you, because I've created a lot of online portfolios, so I'm pretty good at this, but also not only for you to get a job, but this could be a good lesson plan for your students. So if any of you have students out there and they're looking, if you teach business English, or you know teachers who teach business English, this will be a good one for them to go ahead and start learning about online portfolios and interview skills for their students. They can teach their students, they can give this advice, and their students will find it very, very, very good advice and very useful.